Hello, Jeromes. We are back on this glorious Friday, but really Wednesday. So if something significant happens with Stefon Diggs before Friday, them just be the breaks. But we put out to the community on YouTube. Now we're just going to answer some Q&A. So thank you very much for sending in your questions. Keep an eye out for when we're calling out for all the questions. Do that up. So first off, Kellen Smith, what's a good cornerback? What's a good comeback when Packers fans say how many Super Bowls the Vikings have won? It's like, okay, bro, why keep bringing up old stuff? It's like you're the dude who peaked in high school. Get out of here. You're like Uncle Rico. You're the 25-year-old who still shows up to high school parties and talks about the big game against Southridge High. Get the hell out of here. Right? Looking towards the future and stop looking back at the past like a loser jabroni. That's pretty good. Landon Miller, number one. What's that you promised? It's not English. Number two, trade Linval and Rhodes and a second rounder, or maybe Rudy for Byron Jones if he's tagged, or a different elite corner. I don't think Jones is going to be tagged. I think the Cowboys actually might end up in a spot where they got to pay Dak or tag Dak, so that's going to cost money. They have to pay Amari Cooper. I don't think that they would let him go necessarily. So I think Byron Jones may actually hit open free agency. Then it just comes down to paying up. And also, I don't think the Cowboys would take on the Linval and the Rhodes contracts, even with a second-round pick for Byron Jones. I just don't really see that happening. Dick Face. Yeah, that's screen name, bro. Diggs to the Pats for the Pats' first-round pick. So the Pats draft like 23 this year, I believe. Would you take that for Stefon Diggs? Probably not. I got to hold out for a little bit more. But also, if Diggs is hellbound to sit out or just be a complete distraction and nuisance, then maybe. But I still think it's salvageable at this point. Gamer 15. What can the Vikings give up for Darius Slay? We did a video earlier in the week saying that if the price is a 2, maybe, but also I'm sort of going back and forth on that because he is older. He is coming off a meh season. You do all that up and then pay him $10 million a year. Luke Christensen, after everything we know, what's your take on Kirk Cousins crumpling in the big moments narrative? Also, are you into Jiu-Jitsu? Well, Cousins narrative, I think that took a big leap forward in terms of him shaking that the way that he played in the Saints game. Now, can he do that more consistently? Can he do that in division? Can he do that in prime time? That's still TBD. And yeah, so I've rolled jiu-jitsu informally, like no-gi stuff, throughout college and most of my adult life, but I didn't start getting into formal classes and going through the belt system and gis until December. November. I got into it. So just working our way up there, and it's really good because I want my son and daughter to be involved in martial arts, and I decided I probably shouldn't be a hypocrite, so I decided to just get in the game. Already racking up those stripes. Trying to get a blue belt before next Christmas. That's a really fast timeline. But we'll see if I can get there. But I love it either way. It's a great workout. It's a good mental exercise. It's high level it's problem solving with dire physical consequences, or however Joe Rogan calls it. Nene Buscas, if you had to eat cookies or chips for the rest of your life, which would you choose? All right, so you can only eat that, or you only get to pick one. Either way, I think I choose chips. Yeah, I feel like chips are a little bit more versatile than cookies. I mean, cookies just like sweet, but it's hard to find a replacement for chips, right? With cookies, you can be like, what about bars? What about Scotcheroo bars? What about ice cream? What about there's lots of other ways to replace sweet stuff. Or what about banana bread? Ooh, banana bread, but bake it really crispy. All of a sudden, it's a cookie, baby. But with chips, I mean, what are you gonna do? Okay, like do those fake like chickpea chips? Do they count? Or you're just gonna use a slice of cucumber? I don't know. T-Rag, with all the rumors about Diggs not being happy in Minnesota, do you see a scenario where we trade him and get a high round draft pick and draft a receiver early? Yeah, this is sort of shaping up like the old Randy Moss situation in '05, and then just taking Troy Williamson with the number 7 overall pick that we got from the Raiders. But I think it's a spot where that's still a long ways off right now. I think this is a lot of bloviating and posturing on Diggs' part. I think he likes the attention. I also think he's keeping his options open, but also I could see this just fizzling out. Hopefully so. Alex Clinton, Can Zimmer realistically look at Jamar Stefan and say he should be the featured 3-tech? Is his loyalty his main blind spot? I don't see him as the main 3-tech next year. I think if he's the starting early down 3-tech, I think they got some issues. But also, I could see him as the de facto replacement for Linval Joseph. Maybe we'll work some with Jaleel Johnson there as well. But I think Armon Watts could be the dark horse to be the starting 3-tech next year. He looked really good in some limited work last year. I think he's ready to blow up. And also, Jalen Holmes in year 3 now? And then also Hercules Mataafa, one time. Eric Hansen, what exactly got you into YouTube jail this last time, and what could we do to prevent this from happening again? It really messed up my daily routine. Skull. Well, Eric, thanks for tuning in, man. It was getting flagged for hate speech, all that other stuff. Now, of course, I probably shouldn't air my conspiracy theories on air, but I feel like once you get to a certain level, there is some jealousy and envy that come out, and then maybe it's a little bit of tattletale, and maybe it's a little bit of not even tattletale, but people will narc. Yeah, even they'll just make up fictitious reasons. It is what it is. Drew Smith, hot take. Vikings should do everything they can to get Jordan Love. Thoughts? I would be down to clown for it. I think he's a big project. I think he's a big-time gamble. I could see him easily busting out as I could see him becoming like the next Patrick Mahomes facsimile. But also, I think his draft stock may precipitously rise. Wouldn't shock me if he's taken before Justin Herbert. Bear even. So if the Vikings want Jordan Love, I think they may have to get into the teens to get it done. Gage Sandin. Vikings don't re-sign Harris. Do we look for a free agent or a draft prospect? Well, yeah. Which would suck because the Vikings for so long have looked for a competent number 2 to Harrison Smith, and Anthony Harris is certainly that. And then you let him go, probably let Jaron Kearse go, and then you're starting all over again on the back end of the defense. Like you have no one back there. DD snippets. Teddy over Kirky for the laughs. Only Teddy didn't get hurt. Sure. Miles Pearson, monthly Jerome, and also you can become a monthly Jerome, support the channel, hit that join box down below. As I burp, what's more important, 3-tech or corner? The way I see it, a pass rush can mask a mediocre secondary. I think given the state of cornerback right now and the fact that Rhodes is probably going to be cut, Waynes and Mack may walk, I think right now corner is the more pressing need. Although I do agree that yes, a great pass rush can cover up for a bad secondary, but also the Vikings didn't really replace Sheldon Richardson, which is also an issue. But I think Armon Watts could be that guy if he's given the time of day. But they're pretty close to priority, but I'll give the slight nod to cornerback just because of what's going on there. Max Kalenberg, if Diggs is truly unhappy trading the Patriots for Thuney on a sign-in trade one time, I wouldn't be mad. I would not be mad at that. That's a pretty good idea. Jerome Shalom. Plans for any trips to the draft or training camps this year? Not to the draft. It's a Vegas issue, right? Because we like going to Vegas, but also that's going to be a poop show, especially down around the Strip that time. It's going to be certainly amateur hour. It's like going out on St. Patrick's Day. Nah, pass. I'm just going to be here at home in the lab, doing up all the videos on the 27,000 Vikings prospects that they bring in. It's going to be a good time. Training camp, TCO Performance Center Bar and Girls right down the road from us. I will certainly stop in there a couple times this year. Eric Normal, what would be your percentage rate of the Vikings draft in Jalen Hurts 1 to 100%? All right, so what percent chance that it actually happens? I would say 22%. Josh Imset. If it was up to you to make overall schedule changes, what would you do? I'd make the bye week set up so half the league is on week 8 and the other half is week 9, so there's no advantage disadvantage while still having consecutive weeks of football. Schedule changes. Well, no 17-game season. I think that's sort of baloney. I would push the bye weeks back so that teams aren't having byes in week 4. A minimum week 6. So try and push that back, as well as. So the reason that the NFL doesn't play on Fridays is a tacit agreement with high school football because they don't want to take away from Friday Night Lights. I think that's really important. But also, I think after Thanksgiving, I think they should shift from Thursday night football to Friday night football or Saturday night football because generally high schools are done in the playoffs by the time Thanksgiving rolls around. I know some states go into December, but they're the insane states like Texas and Virginia. But yeah, I think that would be a neat scheduling quirk where Thursday night, especially later on in the season, that is a distinct competitive disadvantage for the team. So I think pushing that a day could help. And also, I mean, yeah, football on Friday. Why not? Let's see here. Jeffrey Higbotham. Who's your favorite quarterback in the draft? Jeff Okuda, even though the Vikings will have zero chance of sniffing him, although he did just sort of fall in our lap there. Also, I'm a big Stefon Diggs fan. I like Bryce Hall from Virginia as well. I'm up on Tyler Biadzazada, playing left guard. What do you think? All right, so Biadzazada, just the latest and greatest interior offensive lineman from Wisconsin. I think he could play all the spots in the interior, and I would be fine with that. Certainly. Torrey Hansen, your prediction on the first three selections the Vikings take in the draft this year. So let's go full on bold. We'll go somehow, some way they end up with Mekhi Becton in the first round. So probably a trade up. Second round, they end up with Bryce Hall from Virginia. Again, that could be a bit of a pipe dream. Third round, Jalen Hurts, because why not? Travis, if Pat Elflein is cut, should he be replaced via draft or free agency? Well, if we get Thuney and or Scherf, free agency. Otherwise, hit it in the draft. Otherwise, Drew Smia. Marcus Hudgens. Have you given any looks to low-key baller on North Texas, Mason Fine? He's a little bit on the small side, but he makes up for it with good footwork, decision-making, and a heart. He's projected a 6th round later. Rookie usually snatch him up, blah, blah, blah. So, Rick Goslin, I believe it's from the Dallas Morning News, just did up a piece on Mason Fine. That's on my to-do reading list. And yeah, I'm going to start doing some more digging on some of the later round quarterback gems in this draft because I think the Vikings, absent of them landing one of the big-time names, I still think they should draft a guy later on. That could be Mason Fine. That could be Anthony Gordon. That could be the Cole McDonald kid from Hawaii. So we'll start doing a little bit more work and have a better formed opinion for you guys here in a little bit. Colton Persons. How many more years do you think Cousins and Zimmer will be on the Vikings? Well, I think it all comes down to this year. If they make the playoffs, I think they have a future. If not, Matt Officials, beef, short ribs, or baby back ribs? It's pretty close for me. I like beef short ribs in that they're very low maintenance. Like all you do, season them up, and you sit them bone side down for 5 or 6 hours. I mean that's all you have to do. Whereas baby back ribs, if you're doing them like Memphis, dry rib style, then you can just have them sit on their back, and then you just come in and spray it every 45 minutes or so for 3.5, 4 hours. That's fine, but it's a pain in the ass when you get into like baby back ribs, and then like, all right, so you coat them, you give them the rub, you put them on there, you put them on the grill, and then you have to put them in tin foil and then put them back on the grill. The 3-2-1 method. That's a little bit putsy for me. So, except they're so good. They are really good. But I think given the choice, I would pick beef short ribs because I'm Asian. Cody Schumann. Do you prefer wide receivers wear conventional jersey number in the 80s or jersey in the teens? I like the XFL where they're wearing the single digits. That's something that I like about the XFL as well as college football. Big time receivers wearing single digit numbers is cool. But generally, I'm pretty agnostic. I don't really mind either way. I do think it's cool, though, if a big-time wide receiver does decide to rock an 80s number, like sort of an old school, like 85 or 88. Like Marvin Harrison with the Colts, just rocking the 88. That was really cool. And then stuff happened. Joe was, again, do you think the Vikings would use Jalen Hurts as a Taysom Hill-like player in his first year if they draft him? Yeah, I think especially in terms of being a red zone basher type quarterback, sort of what Tebow was with the Jets, or what they kind of tried to have him be. I think that would be a great asset because generally when you're running down inside the red zone, you're running 10 versus 11. But if you have the quarterback having the option to be a runner, it's 11 on 11. And I think Jalen Hurts would just have a nose for the red zone, as you saw in Alabama as well as Oklahoma. Connor Keck, would you rather see the Vikings draft a quarterback or sign Case Keenum for Chief? Draft. I wouldn't mind if it's both. Taking, say, a day 2 quarterback as well as signing Case Keenum for cheap. If and when Washington lets him go, I'd be down for that. Anthony Rekindle, slave for X. Think Detroit would be enticed. Earn your money, Rick Skull. No, I don't think they would be enticed to take on that contract. Billy Long. What's the odds of landing a big name free agent, either offensive line or cornerback? Well, if they shift some money around, I think that there's a decent shot, as well as if they free up some cap by cutting Rhodes and or cutting or restructuring Reef. The Vikings will have some cash to play with. Zach Hazley, so we got 3 more. Do you think there's any chance Mike Hughes plays again? Oh, yeah. Well, the question is, does he play well again? That's a better question. 2 from Max Kahlenberg. What do you think offseason cuts trades will be? Too broad of a question. And how much cap do you think we will have? Right now, negative $13 million. But I think at the end of it, I think we'll end up with about $10 million in cap space after free agency and all that other stuff. But that's it. That was the Vikings Friday Q&A. Thank you very much for coming along. Love you guys. Got any comments or additional questions? Let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe, Venmo. Hit that join button as well. But until next time, Skull, production value.